I never believed silence could scream until I heard it between them. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon in late spring. The kind of day when the golden sun bled gently through lace curtains, and the scent of fresh gardenia drifted through the open windows. I was walking past the guest room when I saw them. Alan was leaning too close to Sam, my daughter. My daughter. She sat on the edge of the bed, her cheeks flushed, her body stiff. And Alan, he had a look on his face I'd never seen him wear before. Not even when he was drunk or grieving his ex-wife. Not even around me. I paused, my heart crawling up my throat. They didn't see me. I wanted to call out. I didn't. I wanted to scream. I couldn't. Instead, I stood there, suffocating in a silence that told me everything I was too afraid to hear. Before I go further, I want to thank each and every one of you who's following my story, who liked, commented, and encouraged me to be honest, even when honesty feels like stepping into fire barefoot. Your support gives me the boldness to tell the truth. Not the polished truth, but the raw, imperfect, aching truth. So, this is me. Madeline Carter. And this is what I saw. What I lived. I'm 42 years old. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, in a quiet neighborhood where the trees are older than the people and secrets stay buried behind manicured hedges. On the outside, I had what others would call a blessed life: husband, house, respect. Henry, my husband, is a well-known architect in town. He designs homes that look like dreams. He's calm, intelligent, collected, so collected, in fact, that sometimes I wondered if I'd ever seen him truly feel anything. We met when I was 29. He was handsome, ambitious, and already divorced with no kids. I had a daughter, Samantha, Sam, we call her. She was 5 when Henry married me. He raised her like she was his own. Or, he tried. But there was always a wall between them. Sam is different. She's quiet, but not shy. Observant. She draws, paints, sketches constantly. She's the kind of girl who sees too much and says too little. Now she's 19, just finished her first year of college, back home for summer break. And then there's Alan Dorsey. Henry's best friend since college. Divorced, funny, the life of the party. He has a way with words, always teasing, always talking with that southern charm that makes you forget your common sense. He started coming around more often this past year, especially after his divorce. He'd stay for dinners, sometimes even weekends when he had nowhere else to go. I never thought twice about it. Until that afternoon. The guest room has always been Sam's when she visits home. That day, I was coming upstairs to bring her some folded laundry. She had left her door cracked open. That's when I saw them. Alan was sitting on the edge of the bed, his hand hovering inches from her knee. Sam had her sketchbook open, pretending to be busy, but she was trembling. I could see it in her shoulders. They weren't doing anything. Not really. But everything about it was wrong. When I entered, they jumped apart like magnets forced against each other the wrong way. "Hey, Mads," Alan said, his voice too bright. "Just chatting with Sam about her art. She's insanely talented, you know?" I forced a smile. "Of course. I've always known." I handed her the laundry and left. But I didn't go far. I listened from the hallway. "Is she suspicious?" Sam whispered. "No," Alan replied, low and smooth. "Just act normal. We've done nothing wrong." Done nothing wrong. Those words haunted me all night. I waited until the next morning, when Sam went out to meet a friend for brunch. I knew it was a violation of privacy. I knew it was wrong. But I also knew that mothers know when something isn't right. Her sketchbook lay open on the bed. The pages were filled with portraits of Alan. Alan laughing. Alan smoking a cigarette. Alan shirtless. Alan sleeping. Tucked between the pages, I found a journal entry. Not dated. Not signed. Just scribbled in ink, desperate and raw. He sees me. When he looks at me, it's like I matter. Not as a child, not as a daughter. As a woman. I know it's wrong. But I don't care. I hate how right it feels. I hate how he touches my hand and I forget I'm supposed to run. I sat there, frozen. I read it again. And again. My body felt foreign. My heart was in my throat. Henry grilled steaks. Alan brought wine. Sam wore a red dress. She never wore red. They all talked like nothing was wrong. But I watched the space between them. The way they avoided eye contact too directly, the way they laughed a little too hard at each other's jokes. I caught Elena watching too, from the kitchen doorway. Elena had been with us for 3 years. She never said much. But that night, she looked at me with something I'd never seen in her eyes before. Pity. When everyone was asleep, I found Elena wiping down the counters. You saw something, didn't you? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Just kept wiping. I've seen many things, she said finally. But some things are not mine to tell. They belong to the woman of the house. What did you see? I asked again. She looked up at me. Her eyes were tired. Only what a mother already knows. That night, I sat on the floor in the laundry room and cried like I hadn't cried in years. Not even when my first marriage ended. Not even when I lost my own mother. I cried because I didn't know who to be angry at. Alan, for crossing a line he had no business crossing? Sam, for being too young to know better but old enough to choose wrong? Or myself, for letting the silence between us grow so loud I stopped hearing what mattered? The next morning felt like the calm before a storm. I couldn't sleep, so I got up before sunrise and made coffee in silence. I stared out the window and watched the dew form over the grass like tears the earth hadn't yet cried. By 9 a.m., the house was stirring. I heard Sam's door open. Alan's footsteps in the hallway. Henry downstairs flipping through the paper like always. It felt so normal. And yet, nothing was. I knew what I had to do. I waited until Henry left to meet a client. I told Elena to take the morning off, and for the first time in years, she didn't ask questions. She just nodded, grabbed her bag, and walked out the front door. Sam was in the sunroom sketching. Alan was pouring himself another cup of coffee. I stood between them and said it. I know. Alan froze. Sam didn't look up. You should both sit down, I added. My voice was low, steady. Too calm. It scared even me. They obeyed. Like children caught in a lie they hadn't yet practiced how to defend. I found your journal, Sam, I said. She flinched. Her eyes darted to Alan. And I saw you. That day in your room. Alan opened his mouth to speak, but I raised my hand. No. You don't get to explain yet. My daughter looked at me, and in her face, I saw everything: shame, guilt, longing, confusion. But no denial. She knew. And she knew I knew. How long? I asked. Sam spoke first. It wasn't like that in the beginning. How long? I repeated. 5 months, Alan said. Voice flat. Unapologetic. 5 months. 5 months of dinners, birthdays, family outings. 5 months of her calling me mom and him calling me Mads. 5 months of lying to my face and kissing my cheek while a storm raged just beneath the surface. You were like family to us, I said, my voice cracking. I still am, Alan replied. No. You're not. You never were. Family doesn't do this. Sam stood then. I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear. You're 19, Sam. He's almost 50. He didn't force me, she snapped. You think I don't know what I'm doing? I'm not a child. "You're not a woman either," I said, harsher than I meant to. "You're a girl who's trying to feel seen." And he used that. Alan spoke, calm and infuriating. "You're painting me as some predator. What else would you call it?" I snapped. "You're old enough to know better. You're old enough to be her father." "Henry's not her real father," Alan said, too cold. "And you'll never be anything close to one either." I thought of myself at Sam's age. I remembered my own mistakes. The man who was older. The man who made me feel special and grown. The man who left when I told him I was pregnant, with Sam. I saw her now, doing what I once did. Mistaking attention for love. Thinking being wanted was the same as being valued. And Alan, he knew. He knew exactly what she craved. And he gave it to her like poison and honey. I waited 2 days before telling Henry. Not out of mercy, but because I needed time to find the words that wouldn't destroy him entirely. We sat on the back porch, our dog lying between us, unaware that the family it guarded was unraveling. "I need to tell you something," I began. He listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't scream. He didn't even cry. When I finished, he asked, "Do you believe her? That it's been going on for that long?" I nodded. I saw it with my own eyes. He stood, walked down the steps, and stared at the yard. Then he said, "I always thought Alan was jealous. Of what we had. Of you. Of the life we built." "Maybe he was," I replied. "And Sam? She's not innocent. But she's not the villain either." He didn't say anything else. He just stood there until the sun set and the yard fell into darkness. Later that night, Elena returned. She found me in the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of wine I wouldn't drink. She sat down across from me. "I knew," she whispered. "I saw them once. On the patio, late at night." He kissed her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I'm the help," she said, eyes down. "People don't believe the help. They fire them. You're not just the help, Elena. You're family." She looked up at me with glassy eyes. "Then let me say this, if you don't stop this now, it will ruin all of you." I gave Sam a choice. "You can stay and end it completely. You can rebuild trust with me and your father. Or you can leave, with him. But if you walk out that door with Alan, you can't come back." She cried for the first time. Not just tears, sobbed. The kind of crying that leaves your chest hollow and your face soaked. "I don't want to lose you, Mom," she whispered. "Then don't." She didn't leave that night. Neither did Alan. But by morning, he was gone. Packed. Silent. A note left on the kitchen counter that read, "Some fires were never meant to be tamed. I'm sorry for lighting this one." Weeks passed. Then months. Sam started therapy. So did I. Henry and I didn't divorce. But we didn't go back to normal either. We were rebuilding, not something old, but something new. Something honest. Alan never came back. People asked where he went. We said he moved for work. And maybe that was true. Or maybe he was just running from the truth like a man who finally got burned by his own flame. Not every story has a perfect ending. Some stories don't end, they just quiet down. But I'll say this, I still love my daughter. Fiercely. Completely. And love, the real kind, doesn't turn away. It stays. Even when it hurts. Even when the silence is deafening. Thank you for listening to my story. For holding space for pain that so many families keep locked behind closed doors. Your kindness helped me carry the truth. And now, I can finally set it down.